We left off with Jeff Mangum and the Neutral Hotels within the airplane that's above the ocean, and now we're gonna go into Bright Eyes. I'm Wide Awake It's Morning. This was like my second favorite album when I was in high school. Because the emotional appeal of it, and ex-girlfriend stuff, you know, that's a story for another day. Gillian Welch, Time the Revelator. It's alt country album. I feel, you know, it's one of my favorite albums. It cracks my top 25 every time because the songwriting is so goddamn good, and the guitar performance and the banjo is so goddamn good. But I feel like a lot of people are gonna see it as being kind of too much of a throwback to a bygone era to really take it seriously on a critical level, and I get that, but I still like it a lot. What do I want it to go in? The Soviet will end strongish. Okay. Good Kid, Mad City, a short film by Kendrick Lamar. You know what that is. This is not the special edition because I didn't want to pay money for like however many more tracks were on there. I don't care how many more tracks were on there. I didn't want to pay more for it. Anyway, John Prine, his self-titled record. A lot of people call it the Haystack album, I guess, and this is really lovely. I only heard it for the first time recently, but it kind of ignited more of an interest in country music for me. Dead Kennedys, Plastic Surgery, Disasters, and In God We Trust, Inc. Manifesto Records, so yeah, East Bay Ray got all my money. But it's a Plastic Surgery, Disasters is very, very good. In God We Trust, Inc. is still pretty good. Steve Earle, Guitar Town, this is his first record, and it's not, you know, we know Steve Earle now for doing a lot of really progressive kind of stuff, kind of an art country guy, but this is a lot more straightforward, and this was a rockabilly record, and there's no advocacy for socialism or unions on this record, which is something that, you know, if you're expecting that, you're going to be sorely disappointed. But there's still a lot of really good storytelling on Guitar Town. The title track is wonderful. Animal Collective and Vashti Bunyan, Prospect Hummer. I bought this in August and I still haven't listened to it. I like both the artists. Elliott Smith, Either Or. A lot of people that are big Elliott Smith fans I've spoken to, they don't like Either Or as much as, say, Roman Candle or XO or, you know, his other stuff, but I still think that it's my favorite Elliott Smith. Soviet Kitsch, Regina Spektor, my favorite Regina Spektor album. This was back in the days of her kind of unrelenting anti-folk punk inspired emotional stuff that's very, very good. Some of her best tracks ever around here. Poor Little Rich Boys, great. The Flowers is great. Us is great. Sailor Song is great. Your Honor is great. Ghost of Corporate Future is great. Chemo Limo is great. That's just about every track on here. They're all so memorable, and she had, you know, she did things with her voice that, you know, weren't terribly unusual, but they worked in a way for her that you seldom hear in other artists. This is the motion picture soundtrack for Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and I like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, but I don't buy soundtracks, and I don't know why I have this, but I do like a lot of the music on it. I don't like all of the music on it. It's decent. Okay, we're gonna get to the less interesting stuff for a bit here. This is Red Blood. This is White Blood Cells by the White Stripes. This was another high school record for me. It's probably, I think, the most cohesive of White Stripes' work. And it's really good. The production is, of course, stellar. Pixies, Sophie Rosa. This album is a lot stranger than I remember it being. I found in recent listens, and I don't know how it achieved as much mainstream success as it did, because it's sonically, it's noisy and it's unrelenting, and I think it's you know, as far as Steve Albini production goes, I think it's probably up there with some of his best. He had the benefit of really strong songwriting on here and really committed performances. So, good for you, Steve Albini. Titus Andronicus, The Monitor, Civil War concept album, noise rock, Celtic punk almost. I don't really care for Celtic punk, but I think it worked thematically for this record very well. One of my top 10. Tom Waits, Swordfish Trombone. I always felt that he kind of overly used the marimba on this album a little bit, but it's still, you know, the songwriting is probably some of his best, some of his most abstract, but also very emotionally grounded, and there's a lot of unexpected shit on here. Cursive, The Ugly Organ, another high school favorite. It's not from a genre that I ordinarily care for, but it's so honest and well done, and you know, when they get to the more abrasive stuff, it doesn't get to me that much. Probably just because of the nostalgic attachment. Wasky Bunyan, Just Another Diamond Day. It's a pretty beautiful album. You know that already. Blue Valentine, Tom Waits. This was not as interesting as other stuff from this era. It's still very sad and still very emotional, and the songwriting is still very good, but I don't know what else you were expecting. The thing with this album is Tom Waits has always been, you know, whether he was doing his kind of depressed thing or doing his, you know, off the wall shit, it's always been, you know, there's always been a lot of unexpected stuff, and there was not a lot here. I feel like it was a bit too cohesive, but I still like it. You know what that is. Olivia Tremor Control, Black Foliage, Animation Music Volume 1. It's probably the closest to a perfect record I've ever heard. The noise and the comfort elements, I think, work perfectly with the pop kind of catchiness in this album. There's just some moments when the production is so sweeping and overwhelming and well done that it's an album that feels great to listen to. Begin to Hope, Regina Spektor. This was kind of the start of her transition from anti-folk, emotional, raw stuff to more finely honed, produced pop music. And that's not to say, you know, there's still a lot of good emotional stuff on here, but when people think Regina Spektor, they think stuff that's on here like Fidelity and Samson and On the Radio. Après Moi is on here, which is probably one of my favorite Regina Spektor track. I'll be right back.